They get the yellow?
Let's go over there. I'll go over there with you.
Welcome to Middletown and the 14th National Aranca Convention. I think the turnout would have been a little bit better had we not had all of that weather to the west of us on Thursday and Friday. All in all, we haven't actually counted up the registered airplanes, but our guesstimate right now is between 80 and 90 Arancas and another 15 or so non-Aranca aircraft. So all in all, it was a real fine turnout. For those of you that haven't met me, and I think I've met most of you, my name is Keith Wyman. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing for Aranca, and I've been with the company 27 years. A little history. We were, of course, incorporated in 1928 at Lunken Field, and we had the honor today to have the grandson of one of the founders of the company with us, our former governor, Bob Taft. Senator Robert A. Taft was one of the founding members of the corporation, so it was great to have the former governor with us. He really enjoyed his time and got to speak to a lot of you folks, and said he'll be back in 2 years. So going on with a little history, incorporated in 28, in 29, as most of you know, they came up with the design on first the C1 and then the C2, and which then became the C3. And we built airplanes from 1929 through 1940 at Lunken Field in Cincinnati. In 1940, which was some 3 years after the major flood that they had at Lunken and the Ohio River, and we actually have photographs of airplanes floating down the river. The management team was looking for a different place to have their factory. Middletown offered them the land if they would agree to move their factory up to Middletown. So the land was in fact given to Aranca. We built the factory by tearing down the original office space and some of the factory at Lunken and trucking it up here piece by piece and re-erecting it on the site that's on Germantown Road, which due to the building basically falling apart, we had to demolish the building. So for those of you that never were here to see it, I apologize, but there was no way to keep it up safely, so we did elect to tear it down. Moving on to 1951, the aircraft manufacturing era ended, and we got into subcontracting on programs like the B-47, the B-52, and other military programs. Somewhere in the 1960s, early 1960s, maybe late 50s, and the retirees that are here will correct me, we got into vacuum brazing. And that has become our core competency. What we do is basically take a honeycomb that we manufacture in-house, make a sandwich out of 2 pieces of sheet metal on either side of the honeycomb, and place an alloy between those, the honeycomb and the sheet, heat it up, it melts, we cool the furnace, it solidifies, and gives you what we call a brazed panel. The brazing was perfected again back in the 60s, and we produced all of the panels for the Apollo capsules in the 60s. That's a pretty old program now. We moved on to bigger and better things, and honeycomb works very well in a high temperature, noisy environment, and we found, or my predecessors found, that we could create acoustic, lightweight honeycomb exhaust systems for aircraft. And from those of you that took the tour today, you can see that that's our primary focus. that being exhaust systems and other honeycomb panels. Because of our experience on the Apollo program, if you read the notes that are written from the employees, I think it was Wednesday of this week, we received the first $1.5 million contract, or a portion of a contract, on the new Orion program, which is a replacement for the Space Shuttle. Space Shuttle is going to retire in 2010, and what NASA has determined is that they've developed rocket boosters good enough so that they can launch the payload on a rocket, launch the astronauts on a separate rocket. They join up in space, connect to the payload, and can move it to wherever they want, to the International Space Station or whatever. So our initial contract on Orion in total is $12 million, and that's just the beginning. Sorry. Just the beginning, and we have bid, that produces the tooling, the engineering, and the first two development parts, which will not fly. We know that NASA needs at least another 18 panels, and it's the heat shield that we're making on the bottom of the Apollo-like spacecraft. And then we've also bid the back shell for that same Orion program. So from the C1 to the Orion program, we've come a long way. The other thing I wanted to mention was a little bit of the more recent history. In 1986, the company was subject of an unfriendly takeover from a guy in Canada whose name was George Dragone. He bought controlling interest in Aeronca and merged our company with a company called Fleet Industries in Ontario, just across the river from Buffalo, and named the corporation Fleet Aerospace Corporation. So we worked under the name Fleet Aerospace from 1986 to 1996. In 1996, there was a name change from Fleet Aerospace Corporation to Magellan Aerospace Corporation. I think more than anything to give the company more global recognition. So we are now, and have been really since 1986, a member of the Magellan family of companies. Magellan operates some 19 different facilities in Canada, the US, and in the United Kingdom. With us tonight, we have Ms. Joanne Ball, who's Vice President of Human Resources for Magellan. And I think at this time, I'd like her to come up and just say a couple words.
Thank you, Keith, and I'm very honored to be here. And one of the things I'd just like to say is that in 1996, when Aeronca became Magellan, there was another takeover that was not hostile, it was friendly, and I think the company's never looked back since. It's been very positive for all of us who've come from a division that I often call Magellan one of the oldest new companies, because all of our divisions have a background maybe not quite as old as Aeronca, but certainly as illustrious and famous, and we're all very proud of that because we have workforces that have brought something really special to the world of aviation, and that's what makes our corporation so special. But one thing I'd like to say is you've forgotten we are now on 4 continents. We're opening a facility in India that our customers like Boeing and Airbus are very thrilled that we are doing this, and so it's creating something that will help all our divisions. And Magellan does work for everybody who is anybody: Boeing, Airbus, Rolls-Royce, GE, Pratt & Whitney, Honeywell, Raytheon. So all of the big names, Magellan is a supplier to, and most of the aircraft that you will fly on has a Magellan part in it. So, you know, you can be very proud of that, as we are. And I think that I had one of the thrills of my life. Yesterday, I got to fly in my first Aeronca, and I want to thank Brian. It was a really wonderful flight, and it's so different. I fly a lot for my job. I go to different places, but flying in an Aeronca is not flying like flying in an airline. It's a much more fun flight, so I want to thank you for that. So I will be presenting an award a bit later, and so I'll be back, but thank you very much for the invite, Keith, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Thanks, Joanne. I racked my brain trying to come up with a airplane joke, because I'm supposed to start off the proceedings with a joke. So I'm going to backpedal a little bit and ask if we have any golfers in the crowd. Anybody have time to golf instead of working on their airplanes? Well, a few of you. It seems there was an old man whose eyesight was starting to go bad, and he was complaining to his son that, "Son, you know how much I love to play golf. I'd be out there every day if I could, but I just can't see the ball anymore." And his son said, "Well, Dad, I understand, but don't give up the game. Why don't you call your buddy Dave, who has had some surgery on his eyes, and he's got 20/20 vision. He's got a touch of Alzheimer's, but I know he can see where the ball will go." And Dad says, "That's a wonderful idea. I think I'll call Dave." So he called Dave and asked Dave if he'd go out golfing with him the next morning. Dave agreed. They showed up at the first tee at 8 o'clock. And the old man, who couldn't see very well, teed up the ball and hit a mighty drive. And he said, "Dave, did you see where it went?" Dave said, "Yes, I sure did." He said, "Well, where'd it go?" Dave says, "Can't remember." The next thing on the agenda is some introductions. We have some veterans of Aeronca in the crowd. Anybody who has worked for and has left by separation or by retirement, would you please stand up? John Hauser wanted to come tonight, wasn't feeling real well after being out in the sun all day. We do have his daughter and son-in-law here, so give John our best. Then I also want to introduce any active Aeronca employees that are here besides myself. I know we have at least one. We have two. And then next on the agenda is to introduce the board. As I call your name, please stand up so everybody can associate the name with the face. Dwayne Jones. Joe Abramson. Dr. Phil. Brian Matz. Jody Whitmar. Our newest board member is Craig McVeigh. Craig? Craig is from Seattle, flies a 46 Chief, and has no less than 9 other Aeronca aircraft under restoration. Total of 10 airplanes. So I believe you could say that Craig probably eats, sleeps, dreams Aeroncas. So welcome to the board, Craig. And finally, Jim Thompson, our president. We are very pleased to have with us tonight Mr. Jim Homan. Jim was a test pilot on mostly Champ, some Chiefs, from 1946 through 1947. Jim has agreed to come down and speak to you a little bit about what he recalls of flying the Champ and Chief in a test pilot role. So with no further ado, Jim, if you'd like to come up to the podium.
I'm glad Keith said recall, because when Jim Thompson called and asked me if I would come down and speak about my experiences here, it was 62 years ago. He didn't realize I can't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. But it was the best job I ever had in my life. Didn't think I could ever have a job that I really enjoyed and loved to do. But to get there from here, I have to say, I had my first airplane ride when I was 16 years old. I had to pay all of $3 for it. And just the other day, Waco had their fly-in. They announced they were having airplane rides 15 minutes for $85. So I don't know what you guys made today, but you missed a lot of money. But anyhow, as soon as I was 18, I enlisted in the Army Air Corps, the cadet program. And in primary, by odd coincidence, I flew the PT-19, which they built here at, there was a Fairchild, but I understand Aeronca built them here. There was one out here this afternoon I saw it. The funny thing about it is to start it, you used to have to crank it. And then you pull a switch and the prop would go around and start it. And in those days we had Gosports. I don't know if most of you people know what a Gosport is, but it was a system of communication from the instructor in the front cockpit to the student, and it was a tin funnel with a rubber hose that came back to your two ears. When he got mad at you, he'd stick it out in the slipstream. And then when he really got mad, he'd shake the stick and beat your knees to death with it. But I survived, and I was commissioned and got my wings in April of '44. And I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Everybody through the cadet program wanted to be fighters, but I was 6'2", so I was too tall, so I had to fly bombers. So flew B-24s out in the South Pacific. And I got back here in Cincinnati, which was my hometown, when, on the day before Christmas of 1945. And I was relieved from active duty in February of '45, and went to get my license, and based upon my military experience, they gave me a single and multi-land and sea commercial license. And I wanted to stay in aviation because really that's the only experience I had. So I thought, well, the closest place was Aeronca right up here in Middletown. So I took a long shot and came up, and I lucked out. They hired me. And at that time, I had 3 test pilots. There were 2 old timers, I call them, because they were over 40 years old at the time. And they had 1 young guy, Navy pilot, and then I had to wait. They hired me as a flight mechanic to get the airplanes ready for the flight tests until the production increased enough to merit the 4th test pilot, which took about 2 months. So about a month after my 22nd birthday, I became a test pilot. And we kept increasing our production. They were building Champs here, and they were later on they built Chiefs up in Vandalia, which is up in Dayton. And ultimately we got up to be 45 aircraft a day. But the idea of testing, of course, every airplane had to be tested to get certified as being airworthy, and we would take them out and run through all the checks, make sure all the performance characteristics were okay, engines run smooth, speeds, stall, cruise were okay, spin recovery's okay. The quality was unbelievable for such a place as this. You'd think a small outfit wouldn't be that good, but the biggest write-up we would ever have would be warping the wings. In order to get the airplane to fly straight and level, you'd have to warp the wings a half turn, a quarter of a turn, or one and a half turn was a lot if you ever had to do that much. But other than that, then of course you have to refly them, and that would keep you going pretty good. I would estimate, I can't remember now, but we probably flew about 6 or 8 of them a day. And we flew 5.5 days a week. And then if we had weather, why we'd have to fly them on Sundays. The Friedlander brothers were really the guys behind Aeronca. And John would come down when we were shooting the breeze, waiting for the weather to clear. He'd play cards with us, and we couldn't get over. He'd smoke our cigarettes. He could buy and sell us, but he smoked our cigarettes. But he told us, he said, "You guys are on your own. You know what you're doing. You manage your own time. If you want to take a day off and go to the ball game, whatever, that's okay. But I never want to hear we couldn't deliver an airplane because it wasn't available for testing." So other than that, we were strictly on our own, and nobody really bugged us. Like I say, it was the best job anybody could ever have. The demand was so great that as fast as they could turn them out, we had customers every day coming in and flying them, picking them up, flying them out of here. There was one out from, I never will forget, from Texas. They came about once every 3 or 4 weeks, and they take about 6 or 8 of them out every time they came. And they would always either buzz the field or take off, make a formation takeoff, so they made a big deal about it. So then sometimes we would ferry airplanes up to Vandalia because when they were going to be shipping, when they wanted to ship them out by freight, they had to take them up there. That's what the freight loading device was. So we would fly those up in the evenings, and then sometimes we would ferry airplanes to deliver them on the weekends. They gave us 7 cents a mile one way, and you paid your own way back. So, and I tell you, riding that bus on Saturday night wasn't so much fun. But the 3 of us, the ex-service pilots, we kind of played around a little more and probably did more than we should have done or we really were required to do. But we wanted to prove that airplane could do anything and everything you could imagine. And we kind of outdid ourselves with them. We would take them out and do acrobatics, snap rolls, loops, see how high we could climb. I got one up to 12,000 feet one time. We could do snap rolls, but we couldn't do barrel rolls because we didn't have enough control surface. And of course the engine wouldn't run inverted anyway. But we'd play around. Every once in a while some guys would come down from right field in T6s or in L5s, and we'd get into dogfights with them. We'd go up and down and around and around. And once in a while somebody would call in and raise Cain, and we'd say, "Oh, that wasn't us, that's one of the customers. We were over the other area." They never did wise up, I don't think. One of the best pieces of flying I ever did see, we never had any serious things. One day, usually we'd go out and stay in the same quadrant, we'd all fly, so we keep an eye on one another. And Howard Kurt, he was a Navy pilot. he lost the engine. He had to set it down in some farmer's field. So I stayed with him and kind of watched for him. And he was going down this hay-covered field. And just about the time he was ready to flare out, I spotted it. There was a fence right in front of him. I thought, oh boy, Howard's going to tear that airplane up, something bad. He spotted it about the same time I did. And the smartest flying I ever saw anybody do. He popped his stick and bounced over the fence. But then another thing we would do is see how hot we could come. We always made wheel landings. So we'd come in just as fast as we could until George Whittington, the guy that ran the airport here, came over and he said, you guys either stop that or I'm going to pull your tickets. He said, all the students are now saying they want the instructors to teach them to fly like the test pilots fly. So he says, no more of that. So we had to kind of clean up our act after that. But anyhow, everything was going great. And then gradually we noticed we had a few more airplanes parked, and then a few more airplanes parked, and finally there wasn't hardly any parking spaces left. And they finally had caught up with the demand. And that's when they cut way back on business, and that's when I lost the best job I ever had in my life. But I want to tell you that we were convinced, and I'm sure you all are now, that was the best little airplane that's ever been made. It's just a fantastic airplane. And I want to compliment you people. I was walking out in the field looking, and some of those airplanes look better than when they rolled off the assembly line in 1946. You people have done a fantastic job of maintaining and bringing those airplanes up. They are just beautiful. And I guess you know you've got the best airplane there is. Thank you very much.
Good job, Jim. Thank you very much for giving us some of your memories. We appreciate it. I didn't get a lot of time to spend at the plant tours today, although I know most of you were there. I was squiring around our former governor, and I think Kevin maybe had some comments he wanted to make. Kevin, why don't you go up and talk about the plant tours a little bit? This is Kevin Patriquin. He's a manufacturing engineer for Aeronca and was one of our tour guides today.
Well, I certainly had a lot of fun today, let me tell you. And it's nice being able to share some of the things at Aeronca with all of you people that are really a part of history. And we were able to share a little bit with you, but what I really enjoyed is the fact that everyone had a story. Everyone had something to tell. Everybody's a piece of history here. So I really enjoyed the people that were on the tour with me, and I look forward to another 2 years when we can all get back together again. So thank you very much.
And Jody, why don't you come up now? Jody had a couple comments he wanted to make. Jody Whitmire, one of our board members.
Hi, I'm Jody Whitmire. This is Brian Matz. We were kind of busy all day long, flying a lot of employees, children's families, hearing lots of stories. But to put on an event like this, Jim works really, really hard, Jim Thompson, our president. But there's so much behind the scenes stuff that nobody knows. People at the motel that give us discounts, and I came out Sunday, Brian came out Monday. We spent a lot of time at the factory with Keith and all the employees just going out of their way to help us. It was great. But I want to say thanks to Kevin Patriquin and his wife Val. We stayed with Kevin and Val. This is the second time I've stayed with Kevin. And, you know, they don't know us from Adam and invite us into their home, save us a few dollars since we're here all week. So I just wanted to make a special mention and thank you to Kevin and his wife Val for helping us out financially. And it's from day one, it's like we're family for them and stuff, and it's been great.
And it's really nice having a couple of teenage boys back in the house again.
We'll keep you around forever. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, I think we want to move on to some door prizes. We have two young ladies in the audience that I think would like to come up and help me here. So, Miss Erin and Emily Smart, would you please come up here? Along with Jim and Betty to work the door prizes with us. On the back of your ticket, there is a number, and I will call that number, and whoever has it from the number selected out of the box will win the door prize. So Jim, we're going to start with an Aranca logo clock. Okay, tell them.
28.
Number 28.
$26.
This is an aerial photo of the factory by Mike Williams. Mike works out at the airport and has donated several of these prizes.
$77.
This is a painting that Mike did of a covered bridge with an Aranca logo on the bridge and a sign to the airport and a champ above.
$2.
Number 2. That's right. This is a framed ad for the new Aranca champion.
$38.
Okay, this is a book called Hunters in the Sky, Visual Guide to World War II Aircraft. Also donated by Mike Williams. Yep, 91.
91.
This is going to be a $25 coupon from Wag Arrow.
61.
And this is the second $25 coupon from Wag Arrow. Number 60. Yep. The next prize is a couple of collector's items, glasses from the NASA programs. And these were donated by one of our employees. Number 37. This is an Aranca carrying bag. This will be an Aranca cap.
6.
And last but not least, the latest in our cup series, coffee cups.
$42.
Obviously, that's Dad. All right. Thank you, ladies. You can go back to your seats. Brian, you want to send your youngster up here? Next thing we're going to do is pull the name on the raffle. And it is what? It's a model? Yeah. Okay. The first thing we have is the Champ model. Thank you. E. Huff, November 4008 Alpha. Okay, next thing we have is an Aranca logo clock. Thank you. Sam Antonin. Antonin? Got a hand wave in the back there. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Our last door prize is a photo of our champ, sitting out in front of, I believe that was, yeah, the old firehouse, Jim tells me it was, nope. Police. Okay. Police clubhouse. It was on the field, I believe, in the northeast corner. Does that sound right? Okay. Oh, and I'm sorry, Jim informs me that's serial number 1 champ. So you get to draw the last name. Paul Agliotis. He's here. That's it. We can do these last. These are last. Okay. Okay. At this time, then, I think we want to start through the awards process. The first of those will be not a specific airplane, but if you'll go through these on the last page of your program. I need to know, number one, if we have any female pilots with us tonight that flew their Aeronca to Middletown. Would you please stand up? Okay. Okay. What we're looking for is the most recently licensed of you. So who's been licensed for, say, more than 10 years? Anybody not licensed for 10 years? Okay. Come on and get your award. How long have you had your pilot's license? 5 years. And now just the reverse of that, we're going to go to those of you 4 which have had their their pilot's license the longest amount of time. So who's had, say, more than 20 years? 2 of you? More than 30? More than 30. Okay. You are our longest licensed female pilot flying an Aeronca to the convention. 1968. The next one is the youngest licensed pilot flying an Aeronca to Middletown. How about all of you that are under the age of 25 that are licensed pilots and flew your airplane to Middletown? Please stand up. No one under 25. All the Minnesota crew left, so under 30? Under 35. Dwayne, stand up. If it's you, it's you. Dwayne Jones. This one's always fun. The oldest licensed pilot flying an Aeronca to Middletown. So if you are... if you're over 60 and you flew an Aeronca to Middletown, please stand up. Over 60. Over 65. Over 70. $71, $72, $75, Richard, how old are you? 76. And I think the young man up front, I don't see any others standing. Whoops, we got one over here. I'm sorry. Are you 77, sir? Or older? I'm 83. And you, sir? 88 years old. Come on up. Congratulations. Okay, following along on your program, the next one is greatest distance flown to the convention in Aranca. So if you would stand up if you flew more than 500 nautical miles. More than 500. More than 600. More than 700 nautical miles. Do I see anybody other than Richard standing? I can't hear you, Richard. 720 nautical miles from Florida. That's it. Okay, Richard, you get the award. Yeah, I saw that. They're not here, right? That's a long way to ride in a champ. Okay, we're now going to move into the judged category. The first is Best in Class, Aranca Built PT-19 or 23. All of these awards this year are sponsored by the association with the exception of the Grand Champion Trophy, which was sponsored by Magellan Aerospace. So again, Best in Class, Aranca Built PT-19 or 23. This one's probably going to be fairly easy because I don't think I saw more than one out there. The winner is 19 Romeo Hotel, Jim Martin. Beautiful airplane, Jim. The next is Best in Class Military Aranca, sponsored, of course, by the association. I won't try and read that every time. The winner on this one is an LC 1265 Victor, Charles Rinker. Next one, Best in Class Post-War Custom Aranca. Winner on this one is 85057. It's Champ, owned by Mike Latrello. Now moving back to pre-World War II aircraft. This one is the best in class pre-war Aeronca side-by-side. Winner on this one is 22356, a Chief owned by Larry Prater. So far, we're doing good. The next award is for a Best in Class Pre-War Aeronca Tandem. It's an L3 49152, John Price. And next, Best in Class Post-War Aeronca Champion. Winner on this one is 3485 Echo, Greg Huber. Are you here, Greg? He went home, okay. Next one, Best in Class Post-War Aeronca Chief. Winner on this one is 3685 Echo, Jay Manor, and it says left for home on here, so I trust he is on his way back. There were some great looking sedans out there today. The next award, Best in Class Post-War Aeronca Sedan. Winner is 1312 Hotel, Don Wilson. Beautiful airplane, Don. The next award is what we call the People's Choice Award. It's where you all get to vote on your favorite airplane. Sometimes there's a very clear winner on this one, and you see most of the votes for one airplane, and other times it's close. This year it was close. But the winner is 1265 Victor, the L3. Sure you got enough room in the airplane to carry all those trophies back? And now, Joanne, it's time for you to come up. The next award is the Grand Champion Classic, and this one is sponsored by Magellan Aerospace. Joanne was down here this week for a human resources group meeting where we bring all of the human resources people in from all over the corporation. We have another young lady sitting over on the left that is from our Massachusetts facility. But anyhow, they've been in all week, and so Joanne agreed to stay overnight and be with you today so that she could hand out this trophy. So Joanne, you can call the number.
Well, this is quite an honor, and I guess the call number is 1010H. Mike Hogue. pleased to present this to you, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I have a lot of people to thank for this, helped me, and too numerous to name, but my good friend Conrad Jacques was the main one that was with me there all the time. So thank you very much, everybody.
And finally, the Grand Champion Antique. This one's sponsored by Aranca Incorporated. Kevin, why don't you, Diana, come on up. We'll let the employees present this award. So your Grand Champion Antique will be called out by Kevin.
The winner is, sorry I don't know the code names, but NX22378, Denzel Williams.
Say a couple words? Denzel, say a couple words.
I'd just like to thank Chapter 304 in Jackson, Michigan. It's where I restored the aircraft, and it was a pleasure doing it, and a pleasure meeting all the people down here. I went through a lot of paperwork, and John Hauser, Bob Hollenbaugh, they were just tremendous in all the help they gave me. So thank you very much, and thank all of you.
Okay, there's a couple more things that we need to accomplish this evening. I think Jim's going to come up and take care of that.
Well, we lucked out a little bit there toward the end, so we finally had another successful one. And glad to see you all make it that could. And today's turnout was really great. We needed that day, so it worked out well. Had a lot of planes come in today. And we need to thank the judges for all their hard work every time. I mean, you can't imagine what they go through to get this done for us, and we're glad to have them. You guys want to stand up? Mike and Denton. Want the board? Yeah. Can we get the board back up here? That's where I requested someone else, not me now. Just a couple of things while they're coming. Miss Ball, I'm glad you were able to make it. Enjoyed having you down, and come again sometime. We enjoyed it. Thank you. And can't say enough about what Aranca does for us each time we have one. Each time we have one of these, you people know that. So, I mean, that's fabulous today. You just can't imagine what they go through to get that done for us, and we really appreciate it. And Jim, thanks for the speech. Thanks for the memories. It was great. Enjoyed it. Got a couple things here under the counter, I guess you might say, but got a little award here. I'd like to, not really an award, it's just a plaque I'd like to present to someone by us in the board, and I'll read it to you. It's a Dave and Phyllis Powell Memorial Award. They were a couple that were with us at the very start, but they lost their lives in an airplane. And those two were the kind of people that make you proud to have some kind of an award like this. They do anything, anytime, help you out, keep you going. But it says Dave and Phyllis Powell Memorial Award, given for outstanding work in the National Ronc Association, presented to Diana Brashear for her monumental help in preserving our Ronca drawings through the generosity of Ronca Incorporated. Middletown, Ohio, June 2008. Can you come up here, Diane?
Just so you all know exactly what Diana has done for us with Keith's help, we announced this at the last convention 2 years ago, but in the meantime, on her own time at Aronca, Diana has scanned over 4,900 original drawings that belonged to the NA that were in the John Hauser's care. So we can all sleep better at night knowing that those drawings are now in electronic format, and we're in the process of organizing them and trying to get them cataloged so that we can make them available to the membership and people who are restoring the drawings. So it's an incredible thing that she's done. Again, it was on her own time, not on the clock at Aronca. And even this weekend, Bill Pancake brought her a stack of service drawings to scan. She's going to be scanning some 12 AC drawings just so we have all this stuff and it's going to be preserved. So she did a huge thing for us. Thanks, Diana.
I just wanted to mention Diane is here with her mom, who is also an employee at Aronca. This is Clara.
Got another one here. Reads, I'll read it to you. It says Dave and Phyllis Powell Memorial Award, given for outstanding work to the National Ronc Association, to John Hauser for his unending and in caring and preserving our Aronca drawings through the generosity of Aronca Incorporated. Middletown, Ohio, June 2008. John's not here tonight, but maybe Jenny can come up here and get this for us. His daughter. Take it back home to him. Maybe I'll leave it in there.
I don't do this. Dad doesn't either. But he will really appreciate this a lot. We wish he could have been here, but he was worn out from his 2 plane rides today. Thank you very much.
What do you think? One more. Oh, it's nice to be praised. You can make these, you know. Dave and Phyllis Powell Memorial Award, presented to, says Betty Thompson, for her never-ending help to the National Ronc Association throughout these many years. Thanks for all you've done for us. Middletown, Ohio, June 2008.
He didn't make you order? Oh, yeah.
I just want to say thank you. I didn't know anything about this. This is a complete surprise. In fact, like 3 days before we came over, we didn't even have the two other ones, and they hadn't made them up, didn't know anything about it. The order had gotten laid aside or something. So this is a complete surprise, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, let me just ask the board if any of them have anything they want to say before we break up. Okay.
A couple weeks ago, Bill Pancake called me, and we were talking about something. I can't remember what it was, and he said, do you realize what's important about this upcoming convention? And I thought about it a little bit. I said, no, I don't. He said, well, the first one was in 1983, and that makes this one the 25th convention that we've had here in Middletown. And I host a small Aranca convention back at my home airport up in Alliance, Ohio, and I've probably done that for about 10 years, and I'm pretty worn out. And Jim, I don't know how you've been doing this for 25 years, but thank you.
Any comments from our new board member?
Don't get him started.
If there was beer here, this would be dangerous. My first convention here was in '92. I drove, 500 miles, whatever, from Memphis. And the first time I knew about this organization was in '88. Jim sent me a magazine out of the blue when I was living in Yuma, Arizona. Over the years, the group has just done a lot for me in my maniacal hobby. And I was glad to be able to finally try and give some back to the society association here, and would like to personally thank Jim Thompson. If there were a contest for the nicest man in North America, I think he'd be in the running.
Where are you? HG. He asked to come up after I got done with my long speech here, so here he comes.
I'm H.G. Crouchy. I'm from the Vintage Aircraft Association, but you guys all know me as an Aranca guy. I mean, I've been around this, gosh, I think Brendan and I came to our first convention in '86. We brought the Super Chief with one gear leg uncovered and one gear leg covered. But what I got here today is something the board of directors asked me to bring along, and it involves one of our members, so I thought it'd be fun to do it here. And if I could have Bill Pancake come up here, please. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read the entire letter here, but let me read the very beginning of this. And it's from our treasurer of the VAA, Charlie Harris. You guys all know him as the guy who puts on the biplane flying. Let me read this. It says, "Dear Billy, as chairman of the EA Vintage Aircraft Association Hall of Fame Selection Committee, it is my great privilege to advise you of being selected for and voted into the Vintage Aircraft Association Hall of Fame." Yeah, I agree. Your lifetime of devoted service to the world of sport aviation, with particular emphasis to the grassroots aviation community, is exemplary. Your uninterrupted and unwavering efforts in maintaining the highest quality in small general aviation airplanes is extremely commendable. And the EAA Vintage Aircraft Association wishes to join with the state of West Virginia, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the owners and pilots of all Aeronca aircraft, and indeed all members of the sport aviation movement, in honoring you for your truly exceptional dedication and untiring support of the world of small aircraft. Now, I have to tell you, one of the things that we've done recently at EAA for the Hall of Fame ceremony is we've opened it up to the general public to buy tickets. I want you guys to know I fully expect that room to be overloaded with Aeronca pilots. The date, write it down. Are you guys ready? The date is Friday evening, October 24th. You got plenty of time to plan. All you have to do is contact EAA's development department. They'll sell you a ticket. It's not super expensive. And we even have hotel rooms there other times of the year. So as long as you're not coming during convention, you can get a room. But that's the date, buddy, that we're going to induct you, and you'll be the sole inductee in the Vintage Aircraft Association Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Boy, this is quite a surprise. I'm just totally lost for words. It's just, right now I just don't know what to say, but I really thank everyone that had a part in this. This really caught me by surprise. I always thought this was for old people. You hear of old folks getting inducted into a Hall of Fame or something, but I'm not really that old. But again, I really appreciate this great honor, and it's because of all of you, Aeronca people. I really enjoy working with the people throughout the world, really. I've helped people in Germany, Australia, Canada, good Canadian friends, our good USA friends. Everybody flies Aeronca. I've even really been known to work on Cubs, T-Crafts, Luscombs, on Ercoupe now and then, and Mooney Mites and Stagger Wings, Waco 10s, Pitcairn, PA4. In fact, had the honor to help Bob Armstrong work on his airplane since his dad passed away. It'll be 4 years this December. Good thing Harold taught me a little bit about OX5 engines. I'm putting it to good use now, helping Bob with his. My love has always been Aeroncas. I've worked on Aeroncas since I was early age, and I can remember some of the old stories way back. I was a kid, about 14 years old, covering a couple of champ wings behind the hangar one summer, and the CAA stopped by. They made their monthly visit, and they came behind a hangar by surprise, and there was a little skinny kid back there with a 4-inch dope brush putting on 2-inch tapes, and the CAA wanted to know who the mechanic was in charge. Well, you know, a big mouth, skinny kid. I said, oh, there's nobody around here in charge. I do it all. And so I didn't know really what was going to happen. Really didn't care. It didn't excite me too much. 14 years old, it really didn't matter. And about 2 weeks later, the fellow that was paying me the big wages that I was making back in 1954, $5 a week, those were days that I played hooky from school and weekends, and other days that I worked at the airport. Well, anyway, these two CAA fellows, they wrote a real nasty letter to the airport operator about unsupervised kids working on airplanes. And well, we had to cut back and keep the doors locked on the last Wednesday of the month when the CAA came around. So a few years later, I went to the Kaiser Airport. Had closed because the owner decided he could make more money selling it off in housing lots than he can with Aeroncas flying off the field. So about 2 years later, I went to Cumberland, Maryland to take my private pilot written exam. And at that time, it was 50 true and false questions. And it was easy. The ace would make 100% on it, but who showed up to issue the exam were these two CAA fellows that caught me behind the hangar covering the champ. And my heart was pounding. I was scared to death. And it was Bob Bell and John Gibson were the two inspectors. And I was really scared because I knew what the results of that test was going to be. I was going to fail it for sure because I broke the regulations there a couple of years ago. Well, they was real happy to see that I was continuing in aviation. And I took the exam, passed it, made 100% on it. A little while later, I took my private pilot check ride. I passed that okay. And by the way, I took that at an Aeronca also. And so from then on, things just continued to grow with the Aeroncas. I continued working on them, obtained my A&P certificate, IA, flight instructor, single engine, multi-engine, instrument, and all that. And it's really been a joy of working with aviation. And I have two great hobbies, aviation and electronics. Been a ham radio operator for years. I design and build a lot of my own equipment. Enjoy working on transmitters and Aeroncas. You just can't really beat it. It's a wonderful life. And to really top things off, this little skinny girl used to hang around the airport in Burlington, West Virginia. Is where I was working when I was a kid. I was about 17 then, and I thought she was just there to look at airplanes. And one day, one of the guys said, "Pancake, you better get your head out of the cowling on that airplane and look up," said, "She's here after you." So we've had a real good life. We both, I guess, have a good sense of off-the-wall humor. Monday, the 16th of June, we'll have 45 years of marriage. And I told her, I said, "Boy, that's a long time to be sleeping with the same woman." Because she had one right back for me. She said, "Yeah, I had the coldest feet of any man she's ever slept with." Well, I couldn't let her get ahead of me on that one, and I told her, well, when we got married, I knew I could have done a lot better, but I felt sorry for her. But anyway, we've had a great life. We go to all the local fly-ins. We come to Middletown every other year, and she already has a car packed and the bags ready to go to Oshkosh. She wouldn't miss Oshkosh for anything in the world. So we've had a wonderful 45 years. We have one daughter, which has a PhD in math, a professor at a local college back home. We have 4 grandchildren, 3 boys and a girl. The oldest boy, Michael, he will turn 20 the 4th of July, he will turn 20. And I soloed him on his 16th birthday, soloed him legally that day. And Curtis Robin, that's his real name. We've named him after an airplane. And he always reminds everybody that Curtis is spelled with 2 S's on the end. If you spell it wrong, he gets really upset. But Curtis will be 16 the 30th of October. And I plan to solo him on his 16th birthday on the same airfield that I soloed on in 1956 on my birthday. I soloed number 1 grandson on his 16th birthday just 4 years ago this July. And Curtis Robin will hopefully be soloing in my champ on his 16th birthday. That's about it. Thank you.
We surprised him. That was good. Jim?
It was really a surprise. I had no idea this was coming, none whatsoever. Thank you, and it's been a pleasure working with you all.
That's it for 2008. We'll see you all in 2010.
Yeah. I finally met, I've talked to Joe on the phone. I've been down to Arizona 2 or 3 times. He's always been flying. Well, you know, that kind of career, when they call you, go. People. Actually, Brian Safran come out, and we made arrangements to meet up there, and I had some sedan stuff going for Cat, and look at some other things. He called me up on Friday. I can't make it Saturday. They decided to go to early out here. Hey, how you doing? All right, Mr. Bill. Congratulations. Oh, snuck up on you, didn't we? Yeah, this yes, Harry John. David, how you doing, sir? I'm doing very good. Yes, sir. Hey, smile. This is my friend Carl Price. He's also nice meeting you. A champ owner. I have had a ball. Some more dessert over here. Oh, yeah.